right, with us today is a really cool guest.
Now, we've talked about estate planning before.
Yes, one of our favorite topics.
It affects everybody.
That's why we've had how many guests about this? 7.
Yeah.
But we've only got one, Ralph Adorno, who's going to talk to us about actual planning of it. He's the guy who's going to tie all the other guests together today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Ralph Adorno, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Rob.
How are you today?
I am fine.
Now, what is your company's name?
The company's name is Ralph S. Adorno and Associates.
And what do you guys do?
We actually involved in basically protecting and growing people's money safely.
So when somebody sees a lawyer and gets information, they can send them right to you and you can help them out.
We could help them out with ideas. That's correct.
All right. Now, are estate taxes optional?
Estate taxes are optional.
How is that?
For the informed. You take tools that are available to each one of us, and you look at the tax code, and all of us are familiar with the tax code a little bit because we're in that arena. However, you take some of the tools and you can package them up and end up with zero estate tax, for example. You can combine a charity, you can combine individual planning, you combine life insurance, you combine a few tools that they have, and you end up with zero tax regardless of the amount of estate or size of the estate that you have.
No tax is a good thing, Rob.
It is a good thing. I mean, it's a great way of saying it, legally avoiding estate tax. But in other words, it is optional. You're right, because you could plan ahead in life to make sure that the people that you're leaving, whatever you're leaving to, don't have to pay estate taxes, which is, they call it the death tax. It seems to be very unfair. You work your whole life, you amass a certain sum, whatever it might be, or maybe it's a home or a small business, and, you think you're leaving it to your loved ones, but if you're uninformed, you may not be leaving it to your loved ones. You're leaving it to Uncle Sam. The home or the business or whatever you're leaving may need to be sold to pay the estate taxes. So you and your staff are skilled at and knowledge is power, we like to say, at explaining this right to your clients, and they're able to legally avoid having their heirs have to pay estate taxes.
I think today most people think that because of the new tax laws that they eliminated the estate taxes, and really, I think from a point of view of planning, it's important not only to concentrate on the estate taxes, which everybody likes to talk about, but also concentrate on the tools that are available in the planning process, because of the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a large estate to set up your estate properly.
But many people, especially older people, don't believe that they should have life insurance. But how could you, if you're an elderly person, you want to have life insurance, how could you eliminate paying life insurance payments?
Well, one of the ways that we've worked with retirees that, for example, they want to increase their income, they want to maximize their income. I'll give you an example of that. A lot of people have tax-free bonds, and tax-free bonds are okay, and the reason why they have them is because of the tax-free nature. But a lot of people realize that tax-free is income, but not estate taxes. So, number one, tax-free bonds do pay an estate tax if you're sizable enough. Number two, they limit the amount of income regardless of the age of the individual. What does that mean? That means that if you're 80 or you're 60, you're still going to get the 4 or 5% tax-free as far as income. So what we do is we talk to people about leveraging or about opportunities that are out there in the guaranteed arena, meaning the insurance industry. And, of course, the word guarantee means a lot of things to a lot of people. However, we talk to them about combining two products. One is a guarantee to increase income, and the only way you can do that is to transfer a lump sum of money. Let me give you an example. $100,000 in a tax-free bond would generate $5,000 tax-free. But if you're age 80, if you give an insurance company $100,000, they'll give you $15,000 as long as you live. And that's one of the things that most people want. They want increased income, but they also want to know who's making the guarantees, and also who will pay them the maximum money, and also how long.
Now, these guarantees, they're not federally insured guarantees.
They're not federally insured guarantees. However, there are in place with insurance industry so many guarantees that make the people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, Ralph, we know you've been doing this for close to 40 years, Ralph Adorno and Associates. And the key here, I'm sure, what you focus on is breaking this down to really make it sound, some of this can be complicated, but you could explain it to your customers and potential clients in a way that they understand it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It really, as you just described it, it could be as simple as saying, here's how we can put a plan together for you to have guaranteed income in your retirement. Let's plan now, and let's minimize taxes and maximize, right, and get the money that you have working for you. And it doesn't have to be a large amount, but you could break it down and simplify it so that your clients understand it. That's probably one of your keys, right?
That's correct. Over the 40 years, we read a lot. We go to a lot of classes. We talk to a lot of top people in the country. We do whatever we have to do to keep informed so that we can impart information on a easy, understandable, layman's term basis so that clients not only will become more informed, but they'll become motivated to accomplish what they want to accomplish by understanding it. And if they don't understand it, obviously, as you know, Rob, they're not going to do it.
Right.
I have a question for you. Here's a surprise pop question. Ready? Do you know 3 ways to take IRA money out without paying any income taxes?
Well, one of the ways that people are concerned about IRA, assuming that they don't need it for their lifestyle, which is the first thing, that my wife and I love our children, we adore our grandchildren, but if it's going to take away from our lifestyle, certainly we're not going to take everything away from us and give it to our children or grandchildren, because we have been doing that all our life. But one of the concerns that people have is because of the double taxation on IRAs, they'd like to pass that downstream, and if they can do it tax-free, fine. So one of the ways is to take IRA money and roll it over into an area whereby you can tax-free, roll it from one pocket to the other pocket, and all of a sudden use that money to leverage up a 1, 2, 3, 10 million, whatever it is, insurance policy, so that when we die, that money goes completely estate and income tax free to the heirs. That's one way of rolling money without even paying income taxes from one pocket to the other pocket. The details are important. The devil's in the details, as they say. But we have all the details, but it's unimportant now. What people want to hear today is ideas, ideas, ideas. Another way is to take money out of an IRA. Here's an accountant and a CPA gave me this idea, and a tax attorney. And they said, well, Ralph, how would you take money from one pocket out of the IRA, let's use an example of $100,000, and take $10,000 out and not pay an income tax? Well, you take the money and you would take it out of the IRA, but what would offset the $10,000? Well, a deduction. What is a deduction? There are a lot of ways to get deductions. So people can create the deduction to offset the income, thereby wiping out the tax of an IRA.
There's 2 ways. Do you have a third for us this morning?
Third one is to come out and to go, again, from one pocket to another pocket. Here we have an individual that has an IRA, and for whatever reason they want to come out of it, and they want to move it, and they want to affect not paying tax on it while they're living, obviously. So that's the ideal situation. So what they do is take the money out, then they take $10,000 in my pre-example, and they donate it to an organization called a trust. And that trust, as soon as the people take the $10,000 and transfer it to that trust, all of a sudden they get an income tax deduction by doing that. And who controls the trust? They do. And that's what the law says? Yes. So if the law allows you to do that, why wouldn't you consider doing some of these options? Right. But that's why they call it the tax code.
Now, this information is really very important for a lot of our listeners that have IRAs. Now, they can reach you at 526-3005, 526-3005. But do you have a website?
Yes, it's www.adornoassociates.com.
Well, as you were saying, the tax code is there. It was written by men and women, right? And it was for various reasons. More men yeah. For various reasons and different interests. So if we can use the tax code to our individual advantage legally, why shouldn't we? I mean, why should some benefit from it and others not? The reason is they don't have the knowledge that you could impart to them to enable them to benefit. Yeah, here's the thing. People hear about this sort of stuff, estate planning and life insurance planning and things, and they think it's not for them because it's for people who may have a ton of money or something like that. It's for everybody. Why shouldn't you be able to benefit from the knowledge of, avoiding either probate, avoiding estate taxes or something like that? Why do you think that it's just for the other guy? It's for you. And someone like Ralph Adorno, who's been doing this for almost 40 years with his staff, can break this stuff down, explain it to you simply so that you understand it, so that you could take what you have, be it an IRA from a job that you had for many years, or even money right now that you're not sure what to do with, or you have a thought that maybe your children or your grandchildren, maybe even yourself, you're thinking about buying a life insurance policy and you don't know enough.
You can call Ralph.
You can call Ralph and have Ralph give you ideas, which is what you were providing us with this morning. As you said, people want options; they want ideas. Ralph, we know that when George Bush was president, and he came in and they changed the estate tax deduction numbers, but they're set to expire. So there's uncertainty in this field. So maybe you could speak to us a little bit about how important it is, and you even mentioned it before, that the people that you're dealing with stay abreast and stay up to date with the newest and the latest information. So how do you and your staff do that? I know you said you meet, again, regularly with attorneys and experts, and you're reading. So now you're obviously up to date and up to snuff. So how do you manage that?
Well, recently with the internet, we've been working with the internet, and obviously we have emails of a lot of clients and people that we work with, prospects and so forth, and we can communicate with them on that level. Other levels are seminars, other levels are newsletters, other levels are... So what I found of late is that not only are we in the estate and insurance planning arena, but we're also in the marketing business. And the marketing is the way we get our word out. Mm-hmm. And so who says that we're a marketing expert? So we're constantly learning about new ideas, new techniques of getting the word out so that people don't have to depend on just one source of information. The other thing is that, just to give you a quick background, Rob, of myself, in 1970, when I came into the industry through John Hancock, they gave me a rate book and kicked me in the back and said, go get him, Tiger.
Right, go sell.
And the bottom line was that after a while, I learned that, there's got to be more than one company in the world. So in 1979, I opened my own firm specializing in estate and tax and insurance planning, and I made some money and I paid some taxes. It was a six-figure tax at that time, and it was a lot of money to me. And I went to my accountant firm and I said, guys, why'd you let this happen? And they said, well, Ralph, you should have asked us the questions. We would have told you the answers.
Now, when you went there, did you have a tire iron in your hand?
Well, the pain of writing the check, and of course it wasn't their check, it was my check. I was not knowledgeable about taxes, so therefore I was depending on other people to tell me and keep me informed. Okay. So very early in my life, I learned two very important lessons. Number one, nobody watches your money like you do. So I don't care who they are.
Excuse me, your wife?
No one watches your money like you do, except your wife. That's correct. And number two, you must learn something about the tax laws, otherwise you'd be writing a lot of checks. So therefore, being a control nut, I didn't want to write a lot of checks, so I started my own accounting firm, and I had it for about 20 years. And I hired an accountant, and he had worked with my 600 clients, and said, go get him, Tiger, and that was how I got in and learned the tax planning business. But you can learn and you can read all the things, but if you don't put it into practice, what good is it?
Exactly. And as they told you, you want the professionals that you're dealing with not to wait for you to ask a question. You want them to, once they're aware of your circumstances, to make suggestions and give you options. Exactly. But that's key, and that's what we provide as professionals: information and options for our clients, so they can make the decisions. Although we're not making the decisions for them, we can make recommendations. But knowledge is power. Certainly, yeah. Now, for younger people in our listening audience with themselves, or maybe their children or their grandchildren,
that should be in school right now.
Who should be in school right now? We're concerned about Social Security not being there when we retire, and everything else. So you can take, I would imagine, younger clients and really build, which may change over the years, but build a plan for them so that they can have a safe and secure retirement. Is that one of the services you would offer?
Yes, that's true, Rob. But let me tell you, one of the things that we find is you can either be proactive, which I think, and I'm listening and I'm hearing your firm is, and our firm is proactive, which we go out and we actually examine our clients and then come up with some ideas. But one of the points that you're bringing up is Social Security and, of course, Medicaid are a problem in this country. Because of the 78 million baby boomers my age, born in 1946, have going to be coming up to grab from that system.
Sure.
So the young people are the ones, my sons and grandchildren, are going to be paying for all of this process that the government is doing with the debt they're creating. So what's going to happen is we're like in a yo-yo economy. What does that mean? That means that, very simple, you're on your own. And to answer your question, that's a long way to answer your question, but there are programs out there that recently recently will show people how to. What's the biggest cost that we incur? Taxes and
healthcare,
finance
insurance.
charges. Finance charges and taxes. So if we can learn to control both of those areas, finance charges and taxes, we would end up with wealth or able to be financially independent.
Bob, you know what Ralph has? He has this cool CD, actually it's DVD, and it's called Free Second Opinion. You know what it does?
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I can show you the copy of the disc, but I can't show you the disc itself right now.
Okay.
But what it does is it gives any of our listeners who call them up will get a copy of this for free, no charge to them, and it'll give them a second opinion without any obligation. Am I right, Ralph?
And that's correct.
Take a look at this.
This is great, and this is for everybody, and they can call you toll-free at 800-258-7608. They can reach you at your website, AdornoAssociates.com, right?
Correct.
And they're not obligated to anything. They don't have to deal with you if they don't want to.
Yeah, there's a free opinion, a second opinion, that's fine. There's free CD, that's fine. We're here to inform.
Now, there's a $300 shipping and handling charge, is that correct?
Yeah, right.
No.
No shipping and handling? You got to love those things on TV.
Sure, it's free or $8, but the shipping is $50, right? Yeah.
It says shipping and handling. I love that one. The handling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy has to walk into the mailbox and throw it in there.
Yep.
They want $19 for that.
So what you're saying before, really, hey, let's minimize the taxes, minimize the finance charges, so that whatever you're earning, you can get at least more use of it instead of just throwing it away on needless payment of taxes and needless payment of finance charges. Just pay the minimum that you're required to. But if you could pay less legally, why shouldn't you?
But you know what's cool? I met Ralph here. Yeah. Nice guy, Ralph Adorno. Estate tax and insurance planning expert. You give him a call, 535-3005. He's going to help you. And if you just call him or email him at Ralph Adorno, which is ARADORNO, at optumonline.net. Everyone knows optumonline.net. You email him, say, hey, send me one of those free DVDs. He's going to mail you one. He's not going to call you 55 times and bother you. He'll mail you one. If you have an interest in his services, he's there. If not, he's going to wish you good luck. Am I right, Ralph?
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing, again, we're getting back to this whole idea of legally minimizing the taxes. We think about this in April maybe when we have to write a check to the government. This is a year-round. I mean, you guys are busy year-round advising people. It's never too late to start, and why not start today or tomorrow or this week so that next April you'll be a little happier, and you'll also be happier knowing that you've got your financial house in order, your personal financial house in order. It's never too late to start,
no,
right?
Because
Bill?
we don't want all these people who die to worry about death taxes. You got enough on your mind.
You have enough on your mind. Yeah. No, actually, it is a serious topic because why waste the money? Why have the big cats with the fancy? I can tell you
right now, I'm going to be calling Ralph.
Yeah. I mean, why have the fancy people, so to speak, not legally get away with legally, not paying, the taxes. You should have
taxes.
Yeah, I shouldn't say get away with, but it really does seem that way.
You call them fancy.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well,
fancy?
You don't need to be fancy to have an estate tax person or a financial planner. You don't need. There's a perception out there. I'm trying to knock it down.
So the dull guy doesn't have to pay.
The dull guy should have an expert working for him in this regard. Yeah.
Yeah. So he can call Ralph Adorno.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 535-3005.
Yes.
That's a nice number.
It is nice. So, Ralph, again, you've done these seminars yourself and everything else. What's if you could tell us like the biggest question or one of the most common questions you get, like let's say during a first meeting or a first seminar with folks, what do you find is on their mind, or the biggest or the biggest concern is on their mind, if there is one?
One of the biggest concerns today, obviously, with the economic conditions going on, is how do I protect my money? I mean, everybody, for the last 10 years, they grew their money in the stock market because that's all they understood, or that's all they told it would be able to grow their money. And all of a sudden, within 10 years, they're back down to zero again. So they put in $1, they grow it to $2, and now they're back down to $1. That's a tough way to get ahead. Yeah. So the bottom line is that's one of the major questions. And I always say to people, listen, if there was a way that you can control And instead of owning the market with your principal, example that $100,000 that I would talk about, and you can go into the market with just interest on that principal and yet end up with the same profit without the risk, why would you do it if you knew something like that existed?
Exactly.
But, I'd like to really end by letting all our listeners know that Ralph Adorno is the kind of people, is the kind of person, and the kind of people at that company that Sage Law likes to do business with. Reputable, been in the community for 40 years. I'm born and raised in this community. And I love the people in Putnam County, in the Hudson Valley. And having people who are intertwined with the community, that care about the community, that have a reputation to help in the community, that have been here a long time. And all I can tell all our listeners is you shop local, you stay with the people around you, you go where success is, and you help these people out. So we got like 15 seconds. Ralph, I want to thank you for joining us in the show.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Rob.